Hey there, friends. Patty Dominguez here, episode 83. I'm happy you're here. And on today's episode, I'm going to be covering how to gain more trust with your prospects, because nothing more important than trust. If you can build that trust, if you can earn that trust with your premium prospects, it is a game changer. That is when they take out their credit cards and invest in your product, service, and programs. And so that is today's topic, because it is so important. And before I go there, I want to share, I have a complimentary 4-part video series hosted by yours truly called The Business Trinity. And I go into the key pillars to have in your business you could stand out, leverage your time, and build a solid income foundation. Who couldn't use more of that, I should say. And you can find that training or the workshop at positioningtoprofit.com/Trinity. Wait, did I say that right? Trinity. TRINITY. Positioningtoprofit.com/Trinity. I can get it out. Okay, so that is the workshop of the month. Definitely head over there. And as a matter of fact, one of the things I'm also going to do for those of you that partake in that training, I'm going to have an Ask Me Anything later in the month, and I'll announce that via email. So you definitely want to jump in on that. It's like a 4-part awesome video series, and then the bonus there, and I'm kind of giving you a peek under the tent early here, but I'm going to have an open Ask Me Anything over on Zoom. It was a really great concept that I had a nice conversation with a very prominent internet marketer, and he does some of those. He just calls them open office hours, and I thought it was so smart, so simple, so smart. He's like, yeah, it's just a cool way to connect with your audience. And so I'll be doing that. I'm doing more podcasting. I'm actually doing a Clubhouse, so I have to report back on that. It should be an interesting experience. All the buzz happening over on Clubhouse. If you want a Clubhouse invite, send me a DM on Instagram, and I just may have an invite because they keep replenishing my invites there. So that'll be really fun to catch me over on Clubhouse. Connect there. Would love to hear what you're working on. And again, I'm going to have to report on what's happening on Clubhouse. I am hearing some really good stuff. So one of the things and the topics that you can use as you're putting your message out there is this concept that I'm going to be talking about today: building trust. Like, it's everything. If somebody doesn't trust you, they're not going to buy from you. So this topic today is so near and dear to my heart, because it's a way for you to accelerate this whole concept of building trust that you can deploy in your marketing strategy as well. And it also, the cool thing is that it positions you in a unique way. And am I not all about that? When everybody's zigging, you want to zag. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Here we go. Hey there, I'm Patty Dominguez. You're about to discover what it means to position your brand and your business to stand out. This show explores the stories of small business owners just like you who are bringing their message out to the world and impacting their tribe. So if you want to take your business to a category of one status, then hang with me, because this podcast shares everything you need to know about how to be more prolific with your brand so that you can have more profits. All right, thanks for joining me on this episode, number 83 of the Positioning to Profit podcast. Today we are talking about good old trust, just how important trust is, because let's face it, without it, you don't have a business. Without it, it's short-term gains, and then ultimately you sacrifice brand credibility, you sacrifice not meeting expectations if the trust is broken. So important. And that also ties into brand promise, lots of different ways, just how pivotal trust is. And so one of the things that I wanted to share with you today is a very simple concept of how you can position yourself even to stand out even more, is really what I want to talk about. So it really, especially if you're in a market where this hasn't been done before, it's even more powerful than that, okay? And it's really cool because it's also really easy, and you're also really helping to bring light and to be seen as a value provider. The other side of it, which is really cool, is that it gives you that authority status where you can build yourself as a leader, right? I always say, like, people are just dying to be led. And I think it's, one of the marketing gurus out there, Dan Kennedy, he's like, people are just walking around with an umbilical cord looking where to plug in, right? People are looking to follow a leader. And so this is such a great way to do that. And that way it is basically throwing rocks or throwing stones at the people that are scammy, or the people that are doing things unethically, or if you were to say the ones that are like just the how do you say the word, charlatans in the market, right, in the industry. And those are the people that are just like the leeches, the scammy, I call them the chooches. And these are the guys that are the guys and gals, right? So there is no specific gender, where you definitely want to expose that. Now, here is the really important part. Pointing these types of people, but not specific names, right? We don't want to go into that because then it can get into slander, and that's really where it could go off rails. But one of the really interesting things is I had seen a post from from another internet marketer, kind of a behind the scenes guy. And he's somebody who is super polarizing. And we all know that when you're polarizing, that's when you get attention, right? And it comes with a lot of risk. He's kind of inappropriate as well. Like, he talks about really kind of crass things in general. So I find him mildly interesting, but I happened to come across one of his posts on Facebook, and I thought it was really interesting. And I found it, and I clipped it, and I shared it, and it got a lot of engagement. And the reason is because it really resonated with so many people. And here's what it said. He goes, "Do this one thing and watch your life transform. Unfollow the influencers, those Instagram models and internet marketers. Follow artists, designers, philosophers, and high-level thinkers. You will be reminded less of your insecurities and faults and reminded of what is possible in quote-unquote reality. And most important, you will learn to think." So this is a way to kind of throw stones in a way that people, when I posted that, they were just like, yeah, that's so true. I totally agree. I couldn't have said it better, blah, blah, blah. So when I shared it, I'm like, listen, sharing from an internet marketer who some people really think is rather rude and polarizing, but this one message I completely agree with. So I said, basically, follow people doing cool shit rooted in purpose and meaning. Okay, that's what's really important. And so I throw stones in a way where I call out choochery when people are being chooches or being leechy or unethical or doing things that are hurting like a specific industry or market. One of the ones that I'm so vehemently opposed to, I have a couple of dear clients of mine who are chiropractors, and one of the things with in that particular space that was rampant, like these marketers are just like white on rice, leeches all over this specific industry. And in that space, I saw for a while, it's been, I don't know, a few years now that I haven't seen it, but basically these funnels were starting to come out. So I would probably say about 4 years ago. About 4 years ago or so, these funnels were starting to come out where people are like, you can get x-rays and an adjustment for $29. I was like, geez, this is so horrible. Because the idea behind that is like you're trying to get hunting as many people as possible. And so what I was looking at it is like that goes against the very grain of positioning. You're in essence commoditizing. And this is where I talk about you never want to be the commoditized coach. You never want to be the commoditized quote unquote expert. In fact, those two words don't go together, right? It's completely contrarian to being an expert. It's commoditizing yourself. So I'm vehemently against that. I hate those funnels. I think it's ridiculous, and I think they shouldn't exist. And I'm so glad to see that they are not around anymore as much as they were, specifically in the chiropractic industry, because I think it's such a disservice. So that's another way. That's another way to throw stones. I'm also really, oh my gosh, I had such a great conversation with one of my really good friends where we were talking about this concept of mastery. I feel like mastery is not something that is honored anymore. So think about it. Back in the olden days, when somebody wanted to be a locksmith or an artist or something where you would have to put in the hours, where you would start it as an apprentice, you would work with an expert or a master, and you would be under their whole expert tutelage to learn the craft, right? To really earn your stripes, so to speak, and become an expert. And so there's a lot of different people that are out in the market that will just throw out their high ticket offer and they just can't back it up with that mastery level. And I happened to see a really good recording by a very prominent internet marketer, kind of like godfather of marketing, where he had a guest on who was commenting the very same thing. He's like, it's a disservice. It's a disservice to the industry where these young hotshots are coming along charging $25,000, $30,000 for a whole lot of nothing, that their delivery system, I don't want to make the blanket statement, but people I know have experienced this, right? No specific people are being called out. But the idea here is where you fall short of expectation, that brand promise is now tarnished. The brand is tarnished. That friend that happened to not be so how do I say it? That friend who did not have the level of experience that she was expecting for her level of investment, it's not like she's going to go and say, wow, I recommend those guys because they really delivered, they over-delivered, right? And so I throw stones at the people who are on the take, who are just hunting, who are not fishing, they're hunting, and they're also spamming perhaps, or not being relevant with offers that are relevant and timely, and permission marketing, like Seth Godin talks about, is like, don't spam people because you haven't gained their permission, you haven't earned their permission to contact them. So all these things you can throw stones at, and that I can start talking about it just like I'm talking about it here on this podcast. And by doing that, it's telling my audience what I am not willing to stand for, and instead what I am willing to stand for. Because any of my clients will say, or will tell you, like, my focus is on, building that crave factor, is anticipating the what's next, is talking about how do I create a better experience for you, surprising and delighting, all the good stuff. And I even say so I'm over on Clubhouse now, and in my bio, and I've said this before, I only work with businesses that have a product or service that are going to contribute to the world in a positive way. Now that may sound airy-fairy, Pollyanna, whatever, but hey, I get to sleep better at night because I would never do business with somebody that has a product or service that is going to hurt the environment or hurt the world in some way. I just have no interest in that, right? I don't care about the money where I would do something like that. So that's one way. Like, I'm not doing any business with those type of people. I'm not on the take. I'm not hunting, none of that. So back to you, within your industry, within your market, there are some shenanigans going on that you can call out in a way, just like I am. I'm not saying names. I'm not talking about anybody specifically, but what I am doing is like, in a way, creating contrast of who I am not, what I'm not willing to do, what I'm not willing to participate in. And as a result of that, it's the whole, like, us versus them again. It's such a great way. And so it does lend itself to the whole contrast thing, right? And then calling out those rotten apples, so to speak, all day long, because you will never run out of stuff to say. And at the same time, the goal there is that you're literally positioning yourself as the trusted source. So as I mentioned, or I think I mentioned at the beginning, this whole goal, KLT, of what you hear from copywriters and other marketers, the goal is to move people through KLT so that they know, like, and trust you. And so when you do this is one of the ways that you can earn that trust at a higher level. And when they trust you, they will follow you. So find those charlatans in your market, and then again, calling out what they do and what you're not willing to do. So you're creating that contrast, and you're setting yourself apart in a way so that people are like, oh yeah, I didn't know that. Good point. You're right. They are scammy. And when you do that, you'll stand out, and P.S., you'll gain more trust. Who couldn't use more of that? Okay. Okay, rant over, but this was such an important one. And so let me know what you think. Feel free to connect with me on social media, whether it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram, or where else. Or you can send me a DM or email me over at patty@pattydominguez.com and let me know what you think about it. What is your take on how you're creating that level of us versus them contrast in your marketing? And let me know if you've used that, and let me know if it works or how well it worked, because I definitely know it works. And with that, I leave you. I bid you adieu. And don't forget that you can catch that workshop at positioningtoprofit.com/Trinity. /Trinity, TRINITY, and you will find out the 3 pillars to, again, create that rock solid foundation in your business so it's not feast or famine, because guess what? You don't need to live like that. Okay, so I'll catch you next time. Thank you so much for checking out the Positioning to Profit podcast. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new episodes. And also, it would mean the world to me if you would take a quick moment to leave a rating and review on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcast player. It really helps to get the word out about the podcast and, of course, the featured guests. And lastly, please make sure to connect with me on social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, I'm on all of them, and use hashtag positioning to profit so that I can search you out and connect that way too. All right, thanks so much. See you next time.